Welcome to the Coach and Crew Show. Get ready to take things to the next level. And now, the host of the Coach and Crew Show, the coach, Charlie Krause.
Welcome back, my friends, with the show that never ends. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I mean, if you can't quote the Emerson Lake Palmer Band, then who can you quote? Well, folks, we got a special one for you today. Joining us from the mean streets of Rustburg, where he
parts
is
unknown,
where he is the underground figure skating champion. We got Byron Tibbetts.
So don't let the government know I'm here. Don't let them know I'm here.
The lone wolf himself. Byron,
if you had to pick someone, welcome.
I mean, if we had to pick someone, we could have picked anyone else. but by default, Byron's here. He's joining us. Tantor's on assignment. Actually, Tantor and his family are at Wally World, and I guess you have to be above a certain age to understand that reference these days. So he's doing a little family time vacationing, and then from there, Tantor's headed to the Gasparilla Bowl immediately afterwards. So he's got some fun times and then back to work. And so Byron's stepping in for the day, helping us out. We're going to get some good laughs and some good commentary. And then I don't know which one's going to be more of commentary or laughs. Probably more laughs than commentary. But we'll see where it takes us. And as always, folks, if you want to, and we already have some chats already in the comments. We'll get to them throughout. But you can submit your commentary or questions, and we'll see what we can get to along the way. We've been heavy college footballing these past few weeks, and we will continue to do so through bowl season. Tomorrow is actually National Signing Day. The average one of us, let's be honest, knows about a total of 0 people, and we just read the stuff and like, oh, he's a Johnny 5-star, then he must be good, or he's only a 3-star. Well, tomorrow we'll learn more about that, so we can have more commentary about that once all the dust settles. Because right now it's just hearsay and speculation for about 99% of the population we honestly just don't know much about. So we'll get to that later. For starters, though, last week was announced next year's SEC schedule because it just means more. So we're going to give it more time. So Byron and I are going to dissect into that for a couple of minutes and just share our thoughts. And yes, the schedule's on screen, but I'm sure you have to be Superman to read it. So it's not going to be but so much helpful for those that are trying to look at it. You can pretty much find it anywhere on the internet. That is the beauty of the internet. But Byron, the schedule's come out now for about almost a week now. What was your initial reaction and or takeaway?
The first game I looked for was Alabama, Georgia. I know we got some new people in the mix, but the way they just left in a cloud of dust with a 12-1 team on the sideline just shows you how important those games can be. So I started looking through the schedule for the big matchups. Luckily, they put it in a nice grid format there.
Yeah, even people like me can figure this one out. For me personally, I looked at Rivalry Weekend. Well, I watched the live showing of it, but then the first comment from there was Rivalry Weekend and Weibley. And holy cow, man, just the SEC is loaded on Rivalry Weekend. And then, like you said, not on Rivalry Weekend. What's that, like September 28th, I believe? It's Alabama and Georgia. Auburn hosts Oklahoma that same day. Every weekend, there's like at least one epic matchup, it seems like.
Say Red River, now an SEC matchup? That's strange.
And we're going to get used to a lot of things. Arizona in the Big 12, you know.
Hey, Texas A&M can't hide anymore.
And I did like what they did. They're hosting Texas. So I did like how the SEC said, okay, listen, even though we made you unanimously vote Texas in, we'll give you game 1 at home. So I did like how the SEC did that.
It doesn't matter if Texas played them at Lloyd's Wellness Stadium. They're going to give them the whooping they've been hiding from.
Hey, Lloyd's Wellness Stadium, that the dangerous things can happen there in that fog. And first off, you're not going to know what happens because there's zero internet reception down there in that little pit. So,
I heard they packed it out with like how many thousands were there this year?
oh, I mean, depending on the game, they got several thousand for several games. I mean,
Yeah, I was getting text messages from people saying it was like 4,000, 5,000. They were turning people away for.
yeah. I mean, it's no Texas high school football, mind you, but it's still interesting. I mean, still go. It's still a place to be. There's always going to be at worst, they're always going to be a top 8 school in the state for the high school level. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, for the 99% of the viewing audience who doesn't relate to this stupidness,
I don't know. I figure a good percentage might have gone to the same high school. So.
you never know. But SEC, we're going to talk heavy about that in the weeks to come. But it's fun just to say acknowledge it. I mean, what is this? The Roman Reigns? We acknowledge him. But it's fun to look out and just already start getting grasps to next year and what will be coming around next year at this time. Now, this is bowl week. So, Byron, before we go forward with bowls, let's go backwards. And just a few minutes ago, Western Kentucky pulled off an epic comeback over Old Dominion. I got that one wrong. And won in overtime 38-35. But not just that game, because if you're like me, you saw the final kick in overtime and that's it. But bowl season so far this past weekend was on the Saturday games. Was there any one game that stood out to you that you were like, oh, wow, that was not what I expected or exactly what I expected and good showing, or I want some money off of you? What was your first initial reactions to last Saturday?
First of all, I didn't think it would be any big blowouts. And then you saw the Fresno State after New Mexico State, who we all know is a great sleeper team.
Yeah, apparently.
Cheeser grease, I don't know.
Apparently, you can be a 21.5-point dog and win by 24. Who knew?
If you don't know, now you know. But no, I ended up luckily held true with the picks that I thought were going to win the late games. So thank you, Texas Tech and UCLA, for winning me some money. I appreciate the parlay help. Really boosted the weekend.
Apparently, I think I was the only one to. Golly, I picked Texas Tech, but my confidence this week went down to 0.0. So I had to work my confidence back up yesterday with the pros. So I picked Texas Tech in our little thing, but I didn't go pull the trigger. But yeah, UCLA, yeah, big win for UCLA as well over the fighting John Adams of Boise State.
Well, what's going on at UCLA? Is Jim Kelly on a hot seat? What's going on there?
Well, Jim Kelly, doesn't he have some type of disease? But I think you mean Chip Kelly.
Oh.
Chip Kelly.
That was Jim not Kelly. Kind. Jim Kelly is a great individual for the record. Sorry, yeah. Chip Kelly.
It's funny that you say that because the other 3 coaches from what was formerly the Pac-12 got invited to the big day signing day tomorrow, but Chip Kelly did not. And it makes you wonder if he's on the hot seat, even though he got a blowout victory where they started their 3rd string quarterback. He gets injured, so they had to put the 1st string quarterback back in because he wasn't 100%, and he's the one that just took it from a close game to a blowout. And then Dante Moore, Johnny 5-star, he's transferring, we assume, to Michigan State. So he opted out. So, yeah, these past weekend games, I don't know. I felt like they went exactly as predicted, minus that was Cotton Bowl and the snowstorm produced more fumbles where Alabama played Notre Dame. Because when you think of Cotton Bowl on January 1st, you obviously think of heavy snowstorms in Dallas. So, all right, later this week, we've got it looks like everybody's gonna be on a clean sweep of San Antonio advancing over. We got the Boca Raton Bowl where most of us are on South Florida over Syracuse. And then the big one, the Gasparilla Bowl, where Phil's going to be Georgia Tech and UCF. And our fan bases here are pretty split. We've got some heavy followers of the UCF fan base. We've got some heavy followers of the Georgia Tech fan base. The Georgia Tech fan base is usually a little bit more vocal than the UCF fan base, just for whatever reason. You can make your insert jokes here of why, but it doesn't mean that they're not. UCF isn't as loyal and isn't as passionate. This one, I'm looking forward to this one, not just because it's a giant pirate festival, but very rarely do we get teams where we get to root for both schools going head to head. It's like Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. Maybe not the same magnitude, but it's a good guy versus good guy match. In most bowl games, you don't get that. I don't know. This one's going to be fun and different, and the Gus Bus will be running, and we'll see if the heavy offense of Georgia Tech can put up some points as well. And it might be a question of which defense actually gets some stops. That's my initial takeaway is take the over. Byron,
I just hope the Krause brothers and Tantor have some side action on this thing.
Yeah, I'm sure Ryan will throw down a bet on Phil in a heartbeat. I don't know if Phil will throw down a bet with Ryan. That's the $1 million question.
I was really torn on this one. I think Georgia Tech can win this game. So this was a coin flip game for me. But talking about the fan bases, I do want to apologize to all the Georgia Tech fans that tuned in. I can't bring half my wit for what you're accustomed to, but I'll do my best.
Well, Tantor's got a whole level of sarcasm that somehow this Georgia Tech fan base is fully embraced. Byron's has got a whole different level of humor. So if you can recognize quotes from the 90s movies or the 80s movies and much less sillinesses, then you're going to embrace Byron. But, he doesn't have the sarcasm wit that Tantor has. So.
As much hate in there.
Yeah. And if you really want a good laugh, go way deep into our YouTube archives and look for Byron's 90-second video titled "I Hate Tantor." It's an epic must-watch.
An homage to Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin
from way back when. And then this week, this Saturday, golly, there's so many more games as well. 7 more games kick off. And when you have 41 bowl games to get through,
things to be thankful for this Christmas. I mean,
it is the Christmas season.
Because who's not excited for Troy versus Duke? I think Troy shows up.
Woo. So, yeah, obviously, one of our other fan bases that I'm even wearing the shirt of is Coastal Carolina. So I'll put some heavy emphasis on the 10:30 Saturday night kickoff, an hour and a half before Christmas Eve arrives. What could possibly go wrong with that when you have to make a 90-minute drive the next morning to your parents' house, right? What could possibly go wrong with my late night? But Byron,
I'm more worried about your son's late night.
Yeah.
How many people are going to go through a table before that game even starts? We don't know.
I got the over under at 1.5.
I'll take that over. We'll talk later.
Yeah, exactly. As long as he can just get into the car and we'll get him there to Grandma's house we go. So,
right. Which I feel bad. I wanted to take the Shants, but we talked about it. That Hawaii, the short kind of home field advantage. I was torn there. Is McCall is playing?
So no, their third stringer is going to still get the spot start. Grayson is on the plane flying over there. They left this morning. It's 16 hours in the air, but it'll be 10 hours on human time because you're flying backwards. But then on Christmas Eve night, it's 22 hours of flight time because you're flying into the time zone change. And so they won't get back till like 10 o'clock Eastern time on Christmas Eve night. So it's a hell of a trip on the way back, but they left today. All the fun stuff will be on the front side, but
rooting for the Shants, even though I picked against them.
Ethan Vasco is going to get the start, and this is now like start number 4 for him. So at this point, he's the number 1 go forward. Grayson, wish him well, but that's stupid. Once you graduate, if you want to play a 5th season, we talked about this last time with Phil. you have to transfer. So he found a home in NC State. No coincidence. His current head coach is the former OC there. So I'm sure he had nothing but nice things to say to his former head coach, Dave Dorn, about Grayson. So good for Grayson, but I don't expect Grayson to play. That's just my 2 cents. I really don't know
Really?
firsthand. So,
Hmm.
but I mean, the one that a lot of, I guess, local people are interested in is the JMU Air Force game at the Armed Forces Bowl. And I'm the only idiot who didn't pick JMU. And let me be blunt why. The head coach and most of the coaching staffs opted out, went to Indiana. The quarterback opted out, went to Indiana. Now, I haven't heard anything about the defensive line, and like 3 of their defensive linemen were potential All American candidates. So they're still loaded. But then you never hear of any of the academy schools of anybody opted out. So even though Air Force ended their season on a downfall, I kind of think that they're going to pull off the upset over JMU. I don't know. I find myself
Hey,
lone wolfing on that one.
hey, good for you that you got the lone wolf. That bodes well potentially. Go Horns. So no, I think you can never count out the military academies. I mean, they're in every game, whether they're in it on the scorecard or not. Like to your point, they can come out and just smack a team that's unprepared. So JMU better show up.
So this will get us through Christmas, and then the back half of the bowls start after Christmas. And that's where the quote unquote bigger name bowls take. I used to call them the bigger name bowls. I don't anymore because, having seen it from a different point of view the past 4 years or so since we've started the Coaching Crew show, all bowls are big. Yes, some have bigger payouts. The Fiesta Bowl obviously pays a higher payout than the Camellia Bowl, plain and simple. But I think all these bowl games are equal and special, and I don't like using the word a bigger bowl game because to the players, they're all huge. And there's a joke somewhere there. All right.
As the deep thoughts roll up.
So Phil and I have had multiple discussions throughout our past 4 or 5 weeks. So Byron, it's going to be your turn to share your opinion, and we'll see what side of the fence you land on. I'm anti-transfer portal. I can embrace it for some parts of, okay, the coach left, you get your one free transfer. But this up and leaving stuff, currently, as of about 15 minutes ago, there was 1,557 people entering the transfer portal. Only 22% of them had found home. Last year, it was something like 46% of the people total found a home. The other 54% forgave their scholarship and never found a new home to play again. What's your opinion on the whole transfer portal that it's the way it is now?
That's a startling number. I wouldn't have thought that it would have been that high. But I mean, that's those individuals' decisions. I mean, I think the way they've got it set up as a business right now, it makes more sense than ever to be able to do that. So do I like it for the game overall? No. Can I disagree with it fully? Not either. Like I see why they have it and why it works. Overall, I wish they didn't have it, but I don't know. It's kind of the way of college football at this point. What alarmed me was what Matt Rule said. Just getting a good quarterback in the portals, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million. That's what's startling. Which I guess they've always hidden some of that number, but
so that's funny that you bring that up. One of the things I really didn't want to read much into, you know how I mentioned at the beginning, National Signing Day is tomorrow. Well, apparently at the 59th minute, Georgia's number 1 overall recruit, the quarterback, dropped from Georgia, and of all places he's heading to, Nebraska. So maybe that $1 million thing really does hold true.
Somebody with some corn money came through from Matt Rule. Good for them.
I mean, yeah. I mean, how many ears of corn did you have to sell to get Johnny 5-star to come your way.
Well, I think people will do it for opportunity as well. Like, I think it's a twofold thing. So it's like, I'm glad that kids can get an opportunity without missing a year potentially because of it. But it's a double-edged sword. I mean, I don't know. The numbers that are leaving everywhere is crazy. It's like free agency before you even get to the NFL. I mean, even look at Caleb Williams. I didn't even forgot he was the quarterback that came back against Texas. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right.
I mean, yeah. And
he was at Ohio State. I believe they paid him 7 figures to go up there for a year, and then he got a Corvette down in Texas.
And then he went to Oklahoma, and now USC, now NFL, and then he'll join Mark Sanchez in the press box. I don't know. I mean,
it sounds like big money any way you look at it to me. Good for them.
Exactly. But it's just there's.
I hear you get $50,000 a year from Heisman if you win the Heisman. So I hope Reggie Bush gets his Heisman back.
Yeah. So he can make those Heisman House commercials.
Yeah, great commercials. Best commercial season ever. Not just because I love Tim Tebow. Have you seen half those? Do you think all these Florida man headlines are true?
I love the one where he screwed the lid on. That's not coming off. Because, I mean, the boy is jacked. And he's like, Barry Sanders not going to be able to open up this. And he's like, need some help, buddy?
That was one of the best ones I've seen.
Howdy ho, folks.
Love Tim Tebow.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, Byron, you kind of just almost made a great segue of best season ever for Heisman trophies, or for the Heisman Trophy commercials. But this is our final show of 2023. We'll be back on in between the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl on 2024 for a quick 20-minute halftime, catch up for the past 2 weeks type of thing, and then look forward to the national championship. So let's go backwards before we go forward anymore, Byron. What's your main things that you took away from this year and you enjoyed? I mean, obviously Texas in the Final Four is a big one, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, just that it came down to chaos, and it was clear cut until it wasn't, or people were looking at it a certain way. I don't know. I saw it going very different coming into the year. So just the fact that it threw me off a little bit for what I thought, because the last certain years you can just see it, and this year there was a couple of surprises in there. So there was a lot of parity. Certain teams that started slow that ended where you thought they were going to end somehow. I know you and Oklahoma State and your prediction with them, certain things that's like even after a slow start. But I mean, for Texas to go get a double-digit win in Bama, like who's to say they can't win a national title right now? Like who's to say Washington can't win a national title right now? I mean, they got 2 wins over Oregon, and we both love Bo Nix and that team. And they came out and won me some money on that stupid line. I don't know why anybody would ever put them plus 9.5, but I'll take the free money. Thank you. Appreciate you. And then, I mean, Michigan, who hats off to them for flying a spy plane over their stadium.
Oh, that was awesome.
For the Ohio State game.
Yes, that was awesome. I mean, yes. That's talk about fully embracing who you are and just saying, you know what?
I was told to keep the show PG. I didn't know. Hold on, let me tear this off and crack a Steve Weiser.
And we're gonna have some fun now, folks.
Don't worry, I switched to brown liquor hours ago. It's already 7:25 on the East Coast.
It's at 6:00 in the 80s. I don't have my tux on yet. I mean, so throughout the year, if you followed us, I would put out the YouTube shorts, and I would always release our bets of the week and how we did. I had my go-to. One of my go-tos was the fighting Rob Williams of SMU. Byron, looking back, who was your big winner that won you either the most money or who infuriated you the most throughout the season with your wagering enthusiasms?
Well, that's why I have a disdain for Georgia Tech, because they gave me a great win for them that hurt me and a great loss for them that hurt me. So it's, how do you beat Miami and lose to Bowling Green? I don't know how those things correlate, but that's college football in a nutshell, which is why some people don't bet it, but it's part of the fun. Same with Florida, Utah. Those were some inconsistent ones. You and I both
love
have
the Utah coach, don't you?
I love the Utah coach. He after he rode out on a motorcycle in a sleeveless hoodie and arm wrestled Pat McAfee. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. But that did not correlate to betting all the time. Same Oregon State. It took me a little while to recognize some of the Pac-12, but Wyoming was good for both of us this year. This was the first year in a while I stayed away from Coastal more. They were my horse for several years in a row. I was looking at your shirt there. I was like, man, Coastal, they won me some dollars through the time.
You know who I know we mentioned
Iowa. Iowa's been a big one. For whatever reason, they've been underdogs. They've been just out there playing defense and winning football games.
I mean, when your punter's all American, it's not a bad thing. I know you mentioned Oregon earlier. They were one of my go-tos. And then early in the season, I was undefeated with Oklahoma this season, but I haven't picked them since about November 1st. Oklahoma was one of my heavy go-tos early on. Oklahoma, SMU, and Oregon were my three. Here's my locks, and I feel like I was with one of them all three times every single week.
Who'd they drop their first and second game
well,
to?
Texas was the first one. They beat Texas, right?
No, yeah, they beat Texas.
So then it was Oklahoma State was Bedlam.
Kansas beat them.
And then I got that one right because I picked Bedlam. And then it was Kansas.
That's right. Yeah, now once they lost to Kansas, I did not bet them anymore. Like I was like, oh man, they're number one now. And then no, how quick do you fall?
So
what a good year by Kansas.
Yeah. I mean, 8-4 by Kansas. That's a phenomenal season. It's Kansas. And we're not talking Kansas basketball. We're talking Kansas football.
Yeah, so, basketball is that's for after bowl season.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk some college basketball, but the average viewer is not ready for college basketball yet. So I'm okay with that. We can put that in the bag and put it on the shelf, and we'll shine it up real nice. We'll turn it, sideways, and we'll stick it straight up.
Hey, 'tis the season.
'Tis the season, Clark. So, all right. In case you're not joining us on January 1, which no one expects you to be, obviously, but let's go ahead and hear your thoughts on the semifinals and into the championship.
Ooh, it was very tough to decide. I mean, I think we're going to get some good football. That's what I'm hoping for, is just good football. I want these to be close games. Don't need a TCU Georgia game. TCU deserved to be there, but want to see some good games. I think we'll get good games out of all of them. I don't think there's any one team that's way ahead. Like, I don't know. I feel like Saban with time, Harbaugh with time. Like, I think it's just good football on the way. Do I hope Texas wins? Yes. Our Michigan, I guess I want Michigan to win. Like, I would prefer Washington be on the other side. Like, Washington, they're in the final, but I am hoping for a rematch of the Rose Bowl circa Braylon Edwards and Vince Young, 2004, I believe, Michigan, Texas. Been a little while, so we'll see if that pans out or not.
I forgot about that one. So my prediction is a rematch of week 2 where Texas and Alabama played. I have Alabama upsetting Michigan and Texas upsetting.
I don't want there to be a rematch. That's going to be tough. I like their odds much better against Michigan for some reason. I don't know why.
What idiot picks both upsets in the semifinals? But here I am picking both upsets in the semifinals.
It's college football. You can pick the upsets. Again, reference Bowling Green, Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the national championship from there. Who knows? I'm like you. I kind of am finding myself kind of rooting for the Michigan storyline. Just so I can see this happening. If Michigan wins the whole thing, I can see Harbaugh going back to the NFL or taking a year off, then heading back to the NFL. Just saying, you know what? Enough of this crap. I just won. Moving on. But then the one that no one's talking about, Washington beat Bo Nix twice.
That's tough.
But if you are east of the Rocky Mountains, no one talks about you. It's about,
Ohio State couldn't do it once, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, it's gonna be crazy and interesting, and I don't know, but it's gonna be fun matchups. So, all right, Byron. Any final thoughts and takeaways to your first ever live stream? Now, there's a joke there somewhere because I'm sure you've been part of a live stream before on the other end, paying the $19.95 for.
Y'all can check me out on my OnlyMans. I got an account on there.
You and Lacey Evans.
Yeah, that's at Poonslayer69. Catch me over there. I believe Rob Williams created me that handle somewhere. It exists. Yeah. Shout out to Rob Williams. Also, we had talked about it before. The committee got it right, but Florida State got screwed. I'm just looking at Florida State, Georgia, and I'm wondering which team wants to show up to that game. Like, I hope both teams want that game to prove a point, and that's a really good game to watch as well. I think it will be. I don't know how big of a difference that quarterback situation makes. I like to think all the backups are Johnny 5-star there, regardless of how much field time they have.
You know, I hope you're right as well. That's the one I'm most nervous about. I don't care if I get my pick wrong. But I do hope that they have the integrity to win the game and just not everybody opt out and all of a sudden, all your red shirts who hadn't played all season are starting on the entire O-line, the entire D-line, your third string punter. I mean, that's what I'm nervous about, the integrity for the sport.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be a lot of bowl games referencing the transfer numbers and everything. So that's why bowl season, I was talking to somebody about it. I was like, I definitely don't bet bowl season. Bowl season's great. Coaches are going, like you were saying, with Air Force JMU. What was your stat on coaches being gone the other day?
I did not look it up. And I did not authenticate it, but I feel like at minimum it's more right than wrong. So
this is the Coach and Crew show. Nobody's holding you to that standard.
For our 4 watching audience members. But then we'll have over 115 for playback. So there we go. But no, I assume this stat is more accurate than not. Out of the 82 teams in the bowl games, only 13 have their head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and starting quarterback fully intact. Some of them is because of injury to said quarterback, for example, Coastal Carolina. Others is because the OC took a job, and like Oklahoma, their OC is now the head coach at Mississippi State, Hail State, right, Byron?
Yes.
And then there's others. Cling, cling, cling. Cowbell. Well, we need some more cowbells.
We got a fever.
Yeah. But then there's others like where the head coach at JMU left. There's situations where the quarterbacks are
Indiana.
Gosh. Yeah. Only 2 things come from Indiana.
I played the 5th. They're going to cancel us before we get on. I feel like the steer on your hat, though. It's good.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And see, I have my horns on, so I'm good.
Hey, I told myself, while you still have a full head of hair, Byron, you don't need a hat right now. There will be plenty of time to wear a hat down the line. I also didn't realize half my head would get cut off where my basement lighting is terrible. So,
and no, he doesn't live and is still in his parents' basement. That's his own basement.
Oh, I live in a van down by the river.
Yeah,
eating a steady diet of government cheese.
All right, folks. Byron and I are going to just get silly from here on out if we don't end it
Hey,
now.
good. I was like, good luck to the Virginia schools out there. Liberty. Oh, that's a tough one. The committee threw. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I hope y'all fight the good fight. Virginia Tech, way to make a bowl. I hope you. I guess
Oh, did they play Tulane?
that to me, they're favored by a lot. I
Well,
hope they win
because
by that
Tulane,
much. That's tough.
here we were just talking about quarterbacks opting out. Tulane's quarterback just opted out, and we saw
Okay,
what
maybe that's why. I was like, Tulane is a good school. Virginia Tech,
Yeah.
is getting better.
Yeah, I mean, that's what frustrates me. Darn it, Tulane. Yes, your head coach left, but now your quarterback opted out. That bowl game's going to be no longer what it should have been. So that's and when we submit our picks, 2 weeks in advance, and then we learn about all the opt outs afterwards. It looks like
Unless
a bad
you know,
pick.
the more you know. It's
Exactly.
all right. It's all right, because now it's like, oh, maybe they run the ball more now. Well, guess what wins football games? We're running the football and playing defense. So
yeah. Well, what's the one thing that usually doesn't take place in bowl games is defense. So
I tell that to Iowa.
True.
Out here. Take the under. I don't know what it is, what bowl game they're even playing in right now. Because there's 41 games. Who is Iowa playing?
Iowa, I believe, aren't they in the capital the Citrus Bowl against no, they're not, because Penn State plays Ole Miss. Oh my gosh, Byron, why did you ask me that? Because
they're playing Tennessee. Tennessee.
Yes.
The Cheez-It Bowl, because you love Cheez-Its. That's why you blacked it out of your mind. You like Cheez-Its. Huh?
Yeah.
In Mexico State.
So yeah, they're in the Citrus Bowl against Tennessee. So I got the bowl game right. I just couldn't remember their opponent. But all right, folks. Anyway, look, we appreciate you watching or at least subscribing. Make sure you're telling your followers about this, and make sure you hit the follow back and like button. This is the last time we're on for 2023. Have a happy what am I, British? Happy Christmas.
Shitter's full, folks.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Hey, can't see the lines, can you, Russ? So, all right, folks. Merry Christmas. We'll see you in 2024.